Unfortunately, that's the story of revenge. Revenge is messy. It never works out the way you want it.
Why the need for so much gruesome, graphic violence? Why not let us imagine
Because it's so much fun, Jan.
Really?
Get it?
We see violence every day in our media. From films to cartoons to TV shows, it's become part of our culture. We enjoy it and always try to find new ways to shock or scare ourselves.
How many times have you heard a woman say, "Oh, I went to see the movie and had a good cry"? She never says, "I went there and had a bad cry." Otherwise she wouldn't have paid the money to go in the first place. So these people have paid money to be scared.
But audiences wanting to see violence hasn't stopped the countless public outcries over it contributing to real-life violence.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
I don't think that horror films or horror comics contribute to juvenile delinquency. I think that they may encourage psychotics and homicidal and other dangerous types. But juvenile delinquency is, I think, a symptom of the illness of our age.
But why are you so sure that there's no link between enjoying movie violence and enjoying real violence?
Well, it's a movie. It's a fantasy. You watch a kung fu movie and one guy takes on 100 people, that's fun. I think it's good cinema.
But if movie violence has no link to real violence, then why are we drawn to it so badly?
If you look at our physicality, we were born with violent behavior out of necessity. Parts of our body can be used for violent acts out of self-preservation. Society created our basic needs, but it doesn't mean the urge in our DNA went away. So suddenly all the parts of our body that were violent became our fantasies instead.
So then it's down to evolution and biochemistry that we enjoy the things we enjoy. It would certainly explain the male-dominant market for violent action films and the female-dominant market for emotional chick flicks. But does this make film violence just a way to satisfy man's instinctual urge to hunt and kill? Not necessarily. Pier Paolo Pasolini's 1975 film Salò was more than just violence. It didn't exist as sheer entertainment or fantasy as Tarantino put it, or as a way to satisfy man's instinctual need to kill. Quite the opposite. Based on the novel by Marquis de Sade, Salò followed the story of a group of Italian youths imprisoned by 4 wealthy fascists, and for a period of 4 months subjected to endless physical and mental torture. Salò was an anti-fascist, anti-elite film that used violence as a means of communicating its message. This wasn't violence for the sake of violence, this was artistic and political filmmaking.
Il sadomasochismo è una categoria eterna dell'uomo. C'era il tempo di de Sade, c'è oggi, eccetera, eccetera, ma non è questo che mi importa. Cioè mi importa anche questo, ma il reale senso del sesso nel mio film è quello che dicevo, cioè una metafora del rapporto del potere con chi gli è sottoposto. Tutto il sesso di de Sade, cioè il sadomasochismo di de Sade, ha dunque una funzione ben specifica, ben chiara, cioè quella di rappresentare ciò che il potere fa del corpo umano, la riduzione del corpo umano a cosa? La mercificazione del corpo.
Salò was a hard pill to swallow for many and was banned in several countries upon its release, but the film endured as an example of violence being done artistically and effectively, something rarely seen in filmmaking today. Or is it? Austrian filmmaker Michael Haneke is a director known for his sudden and shocking outbursts of violence on screen. Like Pasolini, he doesn't show these things because he likes to, but because he has something important he needs to say with them.
Wir wissen ja alle, dass Gewalt natürlich in erster Linie aus Angst entsteht. Ne? weil ich Angst habe, dass mir was passiert, übe ich Gewalt gegen die anderen aus. Ne? Schon oft Goethe zitiert, der eben sagt, es gibt kein Verbrechen, das ich mir nicht vorstellen könnte, selber begangen zu haben. Und das war ein kluger Satz. Man muss nur in die richtige Situation kommen. Ne? Es ist immer, glaube ich, sehr naiv zu sagen, wenn man über andere spricht, was die da getan haben. Man war nicht in der Situation. Ja? Ich könnte auch nicht für mich meine Hand ins Feuer legen, dass ich in bestimmten Momenten nicht Dinge tue, für die ich mich unter anderen Umständen zu Tode schämen würde. Ne?
Haneke's films have always looked at the causes and effects of violence, and less of the act itself. Compare the length of this shot to the length of this shot, and you'll see what I mean. Yes, Haneke's films are violent, but they aim to make the audience think, not just to be shocked.
Pass auf! Wo ist die Fernbedienung? Scheiße, wo ist die scheiß Fernbedienung?
In Funny Games, a woman and her family have been subjected to numerous mental and physical tortures. The woman is about to kill her tormentors and escape, but the film isn't quite over yet. The audience wants to see more blood and gore, so we rewind the film and stop her. Haneke has his characters rewind their own film to make a statement on the sadism of horror films and the way in which audiences enjoy it. For the first time in a while, audiences are confronted with the fact that they enjoy the suffering of others. That is, after all, what action and horror films are all about. It makes a welcome change from the inconsequential murder of most action films, or the death and destruction of the Transformers series. But with all this violence adding up on screen, from the artistic to the inartistic, from the fun to the serious, from the meaningful to the meaningless, it must boil down to something. But if not violence, then what?
People who spend more time watching television are not going to be more violent, they're going to be more afraid. They're going to be more mistrustful. They're going to be more apprehensive of other people. They're more concerned about violence being done to them. So it turns the whole debate on its head. It's a much more pervasive effect.
So then the argument could be made, well, so people will just be more cautious, right? When they're out and about because they've seen these things that happen on TV, they'll just look around a little bit more. Is it that bad?
Well, it's an exaggeration. It's an overstimulation of fear. It's beyond being a little more cautious. It's being very mistrustful. It's buying a lot more guns. It's locking your doors beyond the level that's needed. And it leads to a sense of insecurity and apprehension that justifies the suspension of civil liberties if it's going to give people security.
Overall, we may be more accepting of the way that we have to be searched or what's legal in terms of surveillance or whatever,
exactly,
because we believe the world to be a more dangerous place, in part because of what we're seeing on TV.
It contributes to that sense of a mean and dangerous world.
So violence can be a good and bad thing. It can be something we enjoy, something fun, something we may even fantasize about. It can be artistic and it can criticize society. I believe that film violence is a good thing. It's something we can all learn from.
I watch a lot of movies, Paul. I know what I'm doing.
But let's not get carried away by thinking everyone is a murdering, axe-wielding psychopath. After all, it's just a movie.